This is Only the Strong Survive, a podcast powered by Con Media, where we dive deep into the world of business, leadership, and innovation. I'm your host, Dan Con, and I'm honored to have you join us today. So, let's get ready to learn some survival skills together. Hey everyone, it's Dan Con with Only the Strong Survive, powered by Con Media. We have a great podcast for you today with two really cool, strong, successful women, both from the motorcycle space, but from very different corners of the motorcycle world. So we have Becky, who rides hardtail Harleys across the country, builds choppers. She is a content creator. She owns her own apparel brand. And we also have Jess Rides, more of a sport bike person and a road racer. And we really get into some details and some really cool conversation about what it means to be a content creator, creativity, working with brands as sort of a one-person show in terms of branded content online and on social. I really enjoyed this conversation. I do want to give you a heads up. There is some rough language in this episode. If you're listening in the car with kids, just be warned that there is some profanity. So I hope you enjoy the episode, and thanks for listening. The business world is changing, as we know. The media world is changing even faster. And the goal of this episode is to learn more about this whole segment of our industry, how people actually can build a career making content online and through social channels. So Becky, Jess, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for inviting us.
First off, I want to give a shout out to our own Anna Glennon, who introduced us to you both. So thank you, Anna, for helping to set this up.
Jet Girl.
She's cool.
Jet Girl 777. She's pretty rad.
She's so rad.
Just came back from Saudi, and Tom Brady pulled some shenanigans. Otherwise, I think they would have gotten first.
I was rooting for her.
So, well, appreciate you guys being on. This will be a casual conversation, and we've had a couple of past episodes kind of circle around sort of the changes in what's happening with creators and with journalism and with media. And certainly, you know, you both being in motorcycle and power sports, that's also the world that we play in. And it's just things have changed so much. So I think consumers have probably a very different relationship with social platforms than you both do. I think most people, it's just a way to kind of doom scroll and waste time. And certainly for you both, this is probably a much bigger part of your life. So I'd love to hear kind of just a hot take of how did you get into all of this? And, you know, what journey were you on that led to the point where you're both doing this successfully and using social to earn a living?
Mine's kind of a funny story. I did it on accident, honestly. I was always in internet marketing as part of a career choice. So I just kind of knew the ins and outs of marketing. Now, this was way back, like 2011, 2012 kind of status where I was doing some internet marketing for a local real estate company. So I understood the inner workings of Instagram and social media and all that good stuff. And I actually helped a friend. I was like, let me show you on my page how you post. Back then, the post times and hashtags were really important. Things have changed since then. So I said, let me show you as an example. If I was going to post this motorcycle photo of me, which I think I had all of 5 photos of me on a motorcycle, I never really took content, which is so funny to think about now. And I posted it on my page and I just said, here's how I would look up hashtags and here's how I would research post times and et cetera, et cetera. And next thing you know, in a week or two, I had 10,000 followers. I was like, I did this on accident because some photos blew up and I go, okay, I guess this is a thing now. And I just kind of fell into it and kept going. So that's my story.
That's like very similar to what my story is. Like when Instagram started, I just posted photos of me riding and I got 10,000 followers in like a day because a photo I had posted was reposted by 2 big motorcycle companies that were in the photo. And I remember I had like a flip phone and I was in my class. I saw the notification just go, "What?" And then my phone just died. And I was like, what just happened? And I went home and I plugged in my phone and I had 10,000 followers. I think also, you know, when you were on it back then, there just wasn't many girls on bikes that were like posting stuff. You know?
Yeah, it wasn't as saturated as it is now, which is great. I love every time a new woman rider's on, I'm like, oh, this is so cool. There's more people. Yeah, but back then it was totally different. And again, trash content. The photos, I archived them. I'm like, I can never show these things ever again. You know, flip phone status.
So in both those cases, you both had this sort of accidental moment where all of a sudden things go nuts. How long does it take before you lean into it? Like, is that a right away where you're like, hey, I want to keep doing this? Or was it like weeks or months before you figured out maybe I can turn this into a bigger thing?
Right before I started riding motorcycles, I was a sponsored semi-pro professional snowboarder. So I had sponsors and I had brands that always wanted me to kind of like do stuff, right? So when I got Instagram and got on bikes and started getting followers, I was like, well, I could kind of do the same thing as I was doing with snowboarding, like do magazine stuff, post, do stuff for brands and get paid just like I was for snowboarding. But with this platform now that I have way more control over rather than like just magazines and going to snowboard competitions, why couldn't I do the same thing? So I kind of just took that template as being a professional athlete into social media and kind of doing the same kind of thing.
So you were already kind of used to self-promo as an athlete. You just applied that methodology to a new platform.
Yeah.
Cool. How about you, Jess?
Yeah, I'm not as cool as that. Not a professional racer or a snowboarder, I should say. I was doing it for fun. I already had a career, I was kind of working my career path and all that good stuff. And I just was like, this is fun. I never thought to document my riding or take pictures while I'm out or make vlogs or videos or things like that. So I was just doing it for fun. I think the first time I realized, oh, wow, this could be a thing was when a brand offered me money to post. I was like, what? That's weird, but okay. And then I, kind of turned it into a business and started looking at it from a strategy standpoint, thinking, how can I monetize this? But in an authentic way. I didn't want to do it for money. I still wanted to be authentic and create an audience and kind of, go from there.
Changing courses a little bit here. Jess, I think your primary audience is on TikTok. And Becky, you made a comment right before we got on. We were kind of talking about the Creators Fund and stuff. And you made a comment that you're Canadian and that you can't get access to it. So there's all these things like I think Montana or one of the states recently, like is trying to like ban TikTok. And like, I don't know, the whole thing is sort of all over the place.
Yeah.
It seems like that platform is a lot easier to sort of have access because of their algorithm than some of the other ones. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it seems like they've kind of made it a little easier to grow to a new audience than the Meta platforms. Is that the case?
It's interesting. I actually jumped on TikTok in 2018, very early. I was probably one of the first, if not the first motorcycle content creator on TikTok. And it was super awesome. It was wild back then. It was just the Wild West. There was so much different content. You could be super silly. There weren't even ways to add text on video. You had to actually hold a piece of paper and put words on it and like print it out and put words on it. So I was on it for a long time. The adoption back then was unreal. I had a video hit 43 million views. I got 500 and something thousand followers in a week. I've never experienced growth like that. It was kind of scary, just to have that many people on a platform so fast. Now with the motorcycle world, I don't know if you experienced this, Becky, on TikTok, but I get violations like crazy. So my reach on TikTok has just plummeted. It's my biggest platform, but it's almost my least performing in that sense, just because they've kind of docked all of the motorcycle type content. I can't post any riding.
So are you talking about like wheelies or are you talking about just like anything?
Anything. I get docked for anything. I get the little warning on it if I'm riding, if I take my hands off the bar and like fix my visor, anything.
Really? Becky, are you having that experience too?
Yeah, it's the same. Like I'll film with my phone on my handlebars with a mount and they just automatically take it down thinking you either like are holding it or
dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous. Exactly.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty interesting. So they're making it harder.
Extremely hard.
So when you have like a brand deal, how does that impact the way you make content?
I don't sell contracts on TikTok for that reason. I only do Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, and Facebook. Those are the only brand deals I'll take out of respect for the brand because it won't go anywhere on TikTok.
That's cool that you do that with all your followers because then it's like, okay, I'll put it on TikTok too as a plus and then if it flops, like it's fine. And that's kind of the same as what I'll do. Oh, I'll also throw it up on TikTok just as a plus. And they're like stoked, obviously. The brands I work with, they don't give a shit about TikTok. They're like, yeah, okay, sure, whatever. But then like the reach is there if the video hits, but like there's just no promises on my page anyways.
I just posted a video today on TikTok talking about this because I described it as a toxic relationship because you just keep feeding TikTok stuff and they don't know what they want. They don't know if they want horizontal videos. They don't know if they want vertical. They don't know if they want long form. They don't know if they want short form. platform. What works, I'm a data-driven content creator. And so I look back at my 30 days of content, see what hit, and then I repeat, right? And I'll rinse and repeat in my content buckets. TikTok has no system. What I'll be like, okay, this video worked. I'll try it again. Doesn't work. It just doesn't make sense. So it's really hard from a content creator standpoint. I'm like, I just tell me what you want. I'll make the content. Just tell me what you want. You know, it's scary over there for me. My friends in the TikTok space don't have the same experience.
Who don't ride?
Who don't ride. They're in the beauty, fashion, finance. They're just in other spaces. They have incredibly different experience than we do in the motorcycle space.
This question is for both of you. And Jess, I know you come from more of a creator perspective. And Becky, I know you're also a creator and you write and you also contribute. How do you guys handle brand deals and authenticity? Because you've both used that word in this conversation so far. So how do you handle that? Where obviously you're getting paid in most cases to talk about a brand or a product. And, you know, obviously you have respect for your audience. That's how you built it. It's also how you earn a living. So how do you kind of walk that line?
I mean, I have always just had Instagram followers because of who I am. Like, I think people follow me because I'm like a certain personality and like a brat and talk shit and like try to be this certain personality. So for me, if I'm not authentic, my stuff doesn't do good. So brands, they only hire me because they know who I am and what I do. And I do like to, you know, tell people and other women who are getting into this kind of thing to just like totally be yourself, because you cannot fake it. And being authentic is the best way to do it. And you're not going to have a lot of followers if people don't like you anyways. So just be yourself.
Do you ever turn anything down where someone approaches you and says, hey, I want you to rep this product?
Yeah, like every couple days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a significant number of them. And is that because you just don't like the brand or you don't like the product or it's not a fit or all sorts of things?
I'd say all of the above. I've been offered lots and lots of money for brand stuff, for protective gear that I don't stand behind and I just won't promote. I don't care how much money you want to pay me. You know, I can't go to sleep at night pushing a product that doesn't make my audience safe, that I don't actually stand behind and would use daily. So I think that's my number one thing. If I don't use the product daily, I'm not really interested. If I have to force it into my content, I'm not interested, you know, and luckily enough in the motorcycle space, there's enough brands that we use a lot of stuff, you know, so there's a wealth of options for us on that side of it. And I think my audience knows that and they trust me for that, which increases my sales because they know if I do say, hey, this thing is awesome, they're like, Jess isn't going to lead us the wrong way.
That's good. That's how it's done. That's how you build respect, build followers. Getting brand deals in the first place is like being like that. Follower numbers like barely counts anymore. It's all about like real deal people and like who is actually going to sell a product because their followers trust them, not just because they have 1 million followers.
Yeah. And the type of audience you have counts too, right? You know, my followers follow me because they trust me. You know, I'm not selling anything else other than, you know, the motorcycle knowledge that I have over riding for 16 years and the stuff that I've experienced and the things that I can recommend. You know, I'm not selling my body, let's say, you know, so they're there for the right reasons. And that's important too. Just because you have 500,000 followers, they might not be following you for the right reasons. They're not there for, you know, your motorcycle knowledge, if that makes sense.
Yeah, especially on the internet. So I get that. I have a question. I run a little creative agency here and have for a long time. And there are definitely days where I get up and I'm like there's days where I'm just not feeling it. And I don't get that option, right? Like I still have to go in and do my thing. Are you guys on the gas every day? Are you like, do you get up every day and you got like a shot list and a to-do list? Because that's the thing, like, and I have nothing in terms of a following compared to either of you. And there's days where I'm like, I don't want to get on another social platform and put up another post. I just don't, and I do it, but I don't want to do it. And it's like, I'm in like UG mode. Does that ever happen? Or are you guys just like stoked and just like ready to get after it every day?
My day-to-day is not social media. That's not my full-time job. So I run a brand. I have like a shop. I have employees. And so I'm working on that like this many days a week. And then I do my influencer motorcycle stuff like this many days a week. So like I always try to keep switching it up. But like I was just saying today, actually, when I wake up in the morning, I got to make sure I am stoked and happy and having fun, or else people can see that, you know, like you have to be on the right trajectory of just like having a good life and having fun with it, or else like it's not going to be successful. So I like to make changes. Like if I'm not feeling going on a ride or like doing my YouTube that day, like I'll do something else, you know?
It is finding that balance. And so to answer your question, no, I wake up sometimes, I'm like, I am not getting behind a camera. You can't pay me enough. I'm not doing it. You know, you got to have that break, that mental break, because the creator burnout is real. I think last year I took 3 months off of Instagram. I was still reposting content on other platforms. So I wasn't making any new content, but I just hit that burnout. I said, I'm done, for now. I just need to reset, relax, restructure some things, work on some efficiencies and processes. So I really kind of took a step back and restructured some things, and I hit the ground running again. And now I'm trying to find ways to, like Becky said, just avoid that burnout, make sure if I'm feeling that way, I do take that day off or I just go do something else.
What does your brand stuff look like? Do you have monthly, yearly contracts, or do you kind of just go project to project?
It depends. So I have some yearly contracts in place. I really like long-term stuff. I think that's the best for any type of brand, because any type of one-off thing are definitely the least productive, or at least they have the least amount of conversions, let's say. Because if I introduce a product and it's just once, I just post about it once, my followers are going to go, I don't know, maybe. But if I start posting about it a lot and showing it more and integrating it into my content, they're like, what is it, 7 times they got to see it before they open their wallet kind of thing. So I at least recommend a 30-day campaign for all of my brands, because it's going to be the most successful for everybody involved. My audience, they can see me actually using it. They see it more often. It's great conversions and stuff. So I try to push for 30-day. I really don't like doing one-off.
One-off meaning like one post.
One post, one and done.
I'm not sure how that's going to convert.
It's not that good. And they can tell. Your audience can be like, this is one random post from this brand we've never heard you ever talk about, So it's really hard to get that trust from your audience, show them the brand and get the conversion and have a successful campaign. It just doesn't work.
So a 30-day campaign, you mean just within 30 days you'll promote them, or 30 days to 30 days?
Yeah. So in that 30-day, I structure a campaign. So I'll, depending on which platform they're trying to target, I sit down with the brand, any brand that I work with. I say, can we have a video call so we can talk about your goals? Because what are your goals? Is it to drive traffic? Is it conversions? Is it to help you grow on Instagram? What's your call to action? How can I structure that? And then I say, okay, focusing on Instagram, and I'll set out a set list of deliverables. And that's what the campaign would be for 30 days, depending on their budget too.
And are you sharing back end reach engagement stuff with them, or how does the kind of reporting work on stuff like that?
I pay a third-party system that aggregates all my data to kind of give a overview of my reach and stuff. For a specific campaign, I'll do a post report, just say, here's everything that happened for this campaign and the post reach and the likes and the engagement. I love when they have portals that can log in and tie in your discount code, so then I can log in and say, here's how the conversions went. And for my long-term contracts, they all have platforms where I can log in and actually see, I can cross-reference my sales based on, what did I post that day? So I could say, oh, that hit. I'm going to do that again.
Those are more like affiliate deals in those cases.
Right.
Where this, okay.
That's cool. That's a lot. You're in this shit.
I have a marketing background, so I kind of talked like the marketing speak.
Yeah.
That kind of leads to my next question. Is I wanted to talk about teams. And Becky, can you tell us just real briefly, tell us about Axel? Where did that come from? What is that? What are you trying to do there?
Well, Axel is my fake name that I tell dudes at the bar that I don't want to talk to.
Love that.
And then so I know if someone's on the street hey, Axel, or whatever, they don't actually know me. But anyways, I went to Mexico with 3 of my girlfriends, and we all changed our Instagram names to actually it's, and then the fake name that we had picked for the trip to Mexico. And mine was Axel. And it's funny because now it's my entire brand.
Identity.
And my brand that now is turning into a real, extremely scary thing is called Axel.
Like a real brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's now my whole thing. But yeah, so Axel Co is my brand, and actually Axel's kind of just my internet persona.
Got it. Now, do you have a team? It sounds like, you've got merch, you've got apparel. How did all that come about? Are you sitting there designing all this stuff? Do you have a team of people you work with?
I always had a social media following just based on what I was doing. And it was just riding hardtail choppers with no front brake, no suspension across the country as alone or with a bunch of other girls with tattoos and sleeping on the ground. And that was kind of just what people were watching, right? And then I was riding bikes and ads and starting to do more marketing stuff after university. And then when COVID happened, I wasn't really getting any of those jobs on set and writing, going to events. So I always wanted to make a shirt that said, if you can read this, the dude fell off. Because there's that iconic shirt you see at every motorcycle event that says, if you can read this, the bitch fell off. And so during COVID, I just like had some savings, you know, and I just made this shirt and I sold a lot of them like really fast. I made a website and I just sold shit tons of them. And I never even made like a legit brand page or anything for months after that because I wasn't really planning on building a brand, but people were just buying things I was making. Yeah, that was only like 3.5 years ago. And now I'm like in a warehouse, have multiple employees, running $4,000 worth of ads every month. And like, I just fired an employee like 2 days ago. And I'm kind of just like in this whirlwind of like, what's going on? So, and I'm doing all this social media for that brand on my own too, trying to keep it like super authentic, like shooting things in my apartment and like showing all the steps of the way, like what equipment I'm buying and stuff. But that's kind of fun because I can do it even when I'm not in a good mood and stuff too. Like I can be like, check out these new stickers I made, you know, or this chick wearing one of my shirts. Like that stuff's kind of just like easy. It's when it's all about you, like what you do, Jess, and me on my personal, where it gets to be like hard psychologically and just like,
yeah, I don't want to do this. Yeah.
yeah, like who am I today? And like, who do people think I am? And like, was that weird? And you lose your confidence in some things. And yeah, I don't know.
How about you, Jess? Do you have a team that works with you or are you running it all?
I'm a one-woman show. It is just me.
You got like a bat cave thing going on in the background there. So I was kind of wondering like,
oh yeah, all my gear and helmets and stuff. No, it's just me. It's just a one-woman show. My goal in 2024 is actually to set up my own merch kind of situation like Becky has, because that is key. It's key. Selling merch and just having kind of your brand that you can create off of it is definitely key. I have kind of like a mini one right now, but I definitely see it growing. I want to find something that's a little better quality that I can offer my audience. So that's kind of my goal for 2024. Yeah, but it's just me managing everything.
there is something to be said for that. I remember being a one-man show and it's kind of nice not having to fire anybody.
Oh yeah, that too. The people are like, Jess, you got to let go, like get an editor. And I'm like, no, I want to do it myself. I want to do it.
What you're doing is fine though. And like, I feel like I'm kind of going more back towards that because then you just hire freelancers to help you or people just to help you. And then you don't really get in that whole like employee trying to find things for them to do kind of thing. It's kind of nice being at this size, like for both of us, you know, where you're kind of just, I don't know, stay a little small. No one's really relying on you for too much.
I know. I like the size.
Yeah, same. You make enough money to do whatever fuck you want or as little as you want.
Yeah. Exactly.
When you decide to make a new piece of content, is the idea like, hey, this seems rad and this is a thing I want to do? Or is it like, Jesse made a comment earlier, I'm trying to remember the words you used because they were really interesting, or you said like rinse and repeat. Like, is it more like, I know what the algorithm wants, so I'm going to make more of that? Or is it like, I just want to do cool shit, let me go do it? Or is it like a combination of both?
Yeah. So for me, I read this book. I think it's called The YouTube Algorithm. I got to remember who it was by, but it was recommended by Doodle on a Motorcycle. Check her out on YouTube. She's super rad. But it was basically the guy who collaborated with Mr. Beast. And I cannot remember his name right now. It's late in the day for me. But he recommended having different content buckets. And so I kind of applied that strategy recently to have different content buckets. So I'll tackle trends. I want knowledge posts. I want my brand relationships. And then what I call onboard footage, which is basically me riding around and like interacting with either my friends or people in the street or whatever, because that does really well on social too. So I try to hit one of those 4 buckets when I'm creating content. And then if I have an idea that sparks an interest, I'll just do it because it's my page and I can do what I want, you know? And sometimes you got to throw things at the wall and see if it works. And then I change my content buckets. I'm like, okay, my audience likes that. Let me add that in there, you know, but I try to only have 4. That way the algorithm doesn't get too confused and I'm not going all over the place, you know? So I just try to focus on those 4 things.
So do you hire filmers on certain days of the month or do you kind of like, how do you do that?
Yeah. So it also depends, you know, sometimes I'll have a media budget and I do hire a videographer and I'll get some B-rolls and nice footage because you can't do that stuff by yourself. You know, I have to have a videographer that comes on board for some of those. And I try to tackle it all together. I try to be so smart. I'll bring multiple outfits. I will have 3 or 4 locations. I just get it all done on a Saturday morning and just knock it out. And I have content for 6 to 8 months, you know, to use because you can kind of chop it all together and it's different outfits. So it looks like it's different, you know, what I did all in one day. And it depends on the budget too. If Showy reaches out to me and says, hey, we want you for this thing, I'll, you know, take some some money out of that budget and bring a videographer with me.
I feel like you couldn't really have two like different people on this podcast. Like Jess and I are like totally different in terms of like what bikes we have, scenes, what we actually do, which is great.
This was intentional. All right.
Oh, was it?
It's like they planned it.
Yeah. So my next question is going to be about Born Free. So yeah, we're all over the place today. I do want to hear about your creative process when you're building. How'd you get into that?
I only know how to work on bikes because I ride crappy bikes, and I would ride them really far and alone, and I'd have no other choice but to figure out how to fix it. So that's really where my whole mechanical skills started. And then I entered myself into a program called Build Train Race, which was Royal Enfield. They did it for flat track only, and then they did it road racing. And it was basically, they chose 7 women from across the states to participate in racing program where they give you a bike and then you build it into a road race bike and then you race it 3 rounds at Moto America, which is like one of the largest road race circuits in America.
We did all the original branding for
Oh,
Moto
really?
America when Rainey and those guys.
Oh,
yeah.
damn.
We were their first creative agency. Yeah, a long time
That's
ago.
crazy. The Moto America people were just at my shop yesterday. You couldn't have road race experience. That was also one of the things that you had to have for this program. So anyways, I built a bike for that program and I built it at the Roland Sands design shop because Roland Sands is like a road racing legend and he was my homie and it was like right down the street. So that kind of process was like me posting on Instagram that I could do that kind of stuff. And meanwhile, I'm still riding like rigid choppers on trips and in movies, TV shows, on Instagram, all these things. And then so Born Free kind of had wind of me like being a builder and they wanted a woman to build a bike for Born Free because for all 13 years of the largest chopper show in the world, they have never had a woman. So that's when I got invited to Born Free.
So cool.
Thanks.
Heck yeah. Awesome.
How was it received there? I've been to that show a bunch of times and it can be a little rough. How was the reception?
Oh, it was an experience. It was a crazy year. Like just people had a lot to say. The social media aspect of it was wild. Like just everything I would post, I just braced for like someone having something to say. And it was about everything, like how I held the tool, like who helped you with that, who paid for that, your parents paid for that, like just the most jealous dudes that are just so bummed that they can't afford it, they can't do it, they never would get invited, and they just can't stand that I'm like cuter, cooler, all these things more than them, you know?
They're emasculated. Oh, it's so bad online. They hate it.
I fucking love it though, man. It is like
me too.
fuel to my fire. I'm like, bring it
I
on.
think-
It just makes me want to say fuck
Do
you
it.
more.
Yes.
Okay, maybe we do have some stuff in common.
We do, because I have this little series on Snapchat that my Snapchat audience loves, and it's just replies to comments decaffeinated, and I'm spicy. They're like, why do you respond to haters? I'm like, because I genuinely enjoy roasting men in the comments. I love it. It like I enjoy it. So why are you going to take that from me? I'm
Yeah.
making my coffee, and I'm just spouting off reply comments to these guys, just telling them, you know, they wish they were me. What color's your R1? Huh? Oh, you don't have one? That's cute.
I fucking love it, man.
You know, it's great.
That
That's
is something that I don't think I totally understood until we started working with Anna.
Oh, I've gone at it in her comment for her too.
Yeah. And
So
I have
funny.
2 daughters, and partly because of what I've seen on her page, they're not really allowed to have access to social right now because there's a lot of assholes out there and trolls. And it's like,
Oh, it's so bad.
it's like, wow, there's some real monsters out there. That's lovely.
And Becky, I don't know if you experienced this, but in person, they're so cool, nice, supportive. Any biker community that I've been involved with at the track or around, supportive, great, awesome. It's online. It's online that they're just nasty, misogynistic, the tear down, jealous, and toxic. And I think that's true just for all creators in general, but especially especially if you're a woman in a male dominated type of space.
Yeah, I know, dude. Sometimes at events, like when people come up to me and are like, I saw you on YouTube or whatever, I'm always just like, are you one of
Are you a
those?
hater? You're one of those guys?
I think that's the comment section in general, though. And I'm sure it's amplified and far worse for people, like you said, like a woman in a male dominated industry or sport. But in general, the people in the comment section online are just trolls. They're just not pleasant humans.
Yeah, I think it's true across the internet. Like if you're trying to get in the content creating space, like you just have to have thick skin. You can't let it get to you, you know, just in general. But definitely if you're trying to get into like motorcycle or any type of male dominated space.
The best content on like TikTok and YouTube is the ones where you post something that people talk shit in the comments on. On TikTok, if you post something controversial or you purposefully do something a little bit wrong, like that's the videos that do the best. It sucks.
Oh yeah.
So you both work with some pretty big brands. And like, I know there's some Dianese stuff hanging behind you, Jess, and Becky, I know you've got Bell and done some stuff with, like you said, Royal Enfield. I think did you do a Harley deal at one point?
Yeah, I'm on contract with Bell helmets, Dunlop motorcycle tires. Wait, what did I say so far? There's a kid on TikTok the other day and he was like looking at his sponsors on the back of his bike to remember them all. Inspired. Bell, Russ Brown Motorcycle Attorneys, Dunlop, and Harley Davidson.
When you have deals like that, are you guys using like I hate to even ask the question, but I'm kind of curious. Like, do you have like an agent or like, are you making these deals yourselves? I mean, these are big brands that I'm sure are using big agencies, and how does that all work?
I'm in the scene. Like I go to events. I've known these people that work at Harley Davidson and all these companies for years, just like being out in the community and networking. And I hosted 17 events in my life that had sponsors, and it's just builds up. But yeah, I do not have an agent, and I probably will never really, other than like for movies, TV shows, commercials, stuff like that. I have an agent that like will reach out to me and say, would you be interested in having us submit you to this? But yeah, not for brand deals.
The only time I had an agent was in the firearm industry when I used to post the 2A content before it got too controversial, and I just stopped altogether. And he put me in touch with some really big brands where I was in commercials and things like that, which was really cool. Now with the motorcycle stuff, I just do it all on my own. Every brand I work with, I think, has reached out to me. So I haven't done any outreach. They just kind of came to me.
We do a little work in the 2A side of things, and man, it's getting harder and harder.
I had to make a really tough decision because I was working with some really big brands in the firearm industry, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. This is so cool. And then I just said, listen, I got to stop. That's what kind of tanked my TikTok account, I think, too. It was the dangerous acts and then the illegal firearm stuff.
Yeah, TikTok is very anti-2A, like more than even Meta, which is crazy.
So I just made a decision. I used to be Daily Biker Things with some pew in between, and now I'm Daily Biker Things with some plants in between because it's safer. It's safer. I can't, but I do have the 2A undertones. I talk about it on my live streams. I go live 3 times a week on my platforms, and people ask me questions. What's your carry pistol? What do you do when you carry? What's your EDC? What holster do you use? What kind of ammo do you get? And we talk about it. I just can't show anything. I just can't show it.
I'm curious, where is this all going for both of you? Like, is the goal just like, because it sounds like you both really enjoy your freedom. And I think that's really cool that you've both been able to, like you said, you're on different paths and you have different types of content, even though it's both motorcycle, it's very different and you get different audiences, but you're both kind of able to kind of do your thing, which is really cool. Is the goal just to keep going? Are you trying to build something bigger? Like, is it getting harder or easier as the algorithms change? Like, do you have a long-term plan?
I have a good goal. I love training and teaching and coaching. So eventually, if I can, I'd like to set up kind of a women's only type of instructional course type of thing, because I know down here, a lot of women in general just have a hard time wanting to do it because they're scared, right? They're going to be the only girl there, or they just are afraid, so I'd love to do that and incorporate that. I want to give back to the community. I want to sponsor some young racers because I think our racing community is definitely suffering. So I have some goals there to hit, so I'm trying to get the channels off the ground so I can start doing these cool things.
Where are you?
I'm in South Florida.
Wow. Okay. Me growing my brand is like the long-term goal in terms of like income, like growing something that lasts longer than, me in terms of how I look. In a couple of years, I might be like ugly and no brands want to give me money. So gotta have something else. I think I'll kind of always work with the brands I work with, like beyond just social media is just one part of it. Like I started a women's motorcycle show that is with Harley Davidson called Axel's Hideout. So now Born Free still doesn't have women builders. So we have an event at Born Free, and now we're going to do it at Sturgis. And we just did it at Born Free, Texas, called Axel's Hideout, where I just invite 8 women who already have cool bikes to show their bike in like an activation space within an event. So doing stuff with Brands Forever, events, continuing working on my brand, and just like doing exactly what I want to do, which is just like ride and meet cool people and see how far we can take it. Like, honestly, this life is just like a joke. Every day I'm just like, this is hilarious what I get paid to do. Like, what is this? And that's kind of just like drives me, you know, just every day seeing what's next.
Do you both have advice for young women who want to ride and want to create content and kind of see you guys as, you know, they look up to you and they want to do what you do? Like, what could you say to them?
Definitely like start riding motorcycles because you want to ride motorcycles. Like, don't ride motorcycles because you want to be an influencer or you want to have social media followers. Like, riding motorcycles, we might make it look easy, but that's because we've been doing it for a long time. And it sounds like neither of us got into it to like be popular or to make money. Like, motorcycling is not a joke. It's very dangerous. And when you want to get into it, like, do it right. You don't need to start on a big bike, and like learn how to ride, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Take a course, get your motorcycle license, like reach out to people to ride with, and like don't take it as something that's just like easy to get followers. And but like once you learn, once you get good at it and people respect you and see you ride and you're a bad bitch on the road, hell yeah, post whatever you want and I will support you.
And not just your MSF course, like continuing education. I would definitely recommend, I wish I did that sooner. I wish I did Yamaha Champ School sooner. I wish I did track days sooner. I wish I did all of this sooner, because I had been riding for, I don't know, 6-7 years. And I'm like, I got this. I'm fast. I got this. And then I did my first track day. I'm like, I'm slow. Like, so definitely do continuing education, because there's stuff that, especially down here in South Florida, that'll save your life on a motorcycle. And then, yeah, just have tough skin. I posted a video recently on my Instagram where I was saying how I stick up for new riders. I think Becky commented on it. Don't get a bike too big. In South Florida, you get a lot of pressure to just go get a 1000, get a big bike, you know, and the girls that start on 300 or 400s, they get made fun of, you know, and all that stuff. But I posted this video about how I stick up for new riders, because I remember when I was new, you know, and you're just getting started. And it's cool to see, because it makes me think about me when I started, that passion and that excitement. And, you know, I'm still excited to ride and everything, but that new, everything's so fun. And you're like, this is great. But a gentleman commented on that video and said, my wife just started riding and she started posting on the internet, and she stopped posting because people were making fun of her. There was so much hate comments. They were making fun of, you know, new rider mistakes that she was making. And it broke my heart, because the internet is a nasty place. And I think that's why Becky and I are just like, yeah, bring it, you know, because we're just like, we'll handle it, you know. But then there's these new riders that they get discouraged, and I hate that. Breaks my heart. So I even replied back to him. I said, listen, if she ever gets the courage to start posting again, let me know. I'm going to follow her and I will defend her comment section, and I will pull in the army and we will defend it. You know, we won't let her quit. So just have thick skin and just know everyone's going to have something to say. I heard it for 10 years. When are you going to get a 1000? When are you going to get a 1000? I had been riding for so long, and now I have a 1000. And you know what they say? That bike's too big for you. It's like, okay, so which is it? You know, everyone's going to have something to say. So just do it for you. And like Becky said, just ride for you. Ride because you love it, because it gives you the freedom. We all ride for the same reason, you know, and if you have that at your soul, nothing can stop you.
So last question for you both. I'm one of those people that I got to screw stuff up to learn anything. That's kind of how I've gone my whole life. So my personal motto is make every mistake once. And so a question I ask on every episode, what's one mistake you can think of in your career that really stands out in your mind, and sort of what'd you learn from it?
I don't know. I'm perfect.
That's a first. Haven't gotten that one yet.
There's a period of my time that I let I take responsibility for it, but I did ride a ton without gear, and I did some photo shoots and some things I really wasn't too proud of. And I've since taken it down, and I kind of just did it because I felt like, I don't know, feeding the algorithm. It was kind of really not something I felt. I posted it and I was like, yeah, I feel good and I feel sexy and it's cool, but I didn't really like the audience I was creating. The comments I was getting didn't make me feel good. I just felt like that's what I needed to do to grow grow an audience. And yeah, it's easier. It's so much easier to just pose in a cute bikini next to a motorcycle. So easy. Especially being in Florida, but it didn't make me feel good. And so, yeah, I might be growing a lot slower than, maybe a woman that's doing that. And no hate to anyone that's doing that. For me, it didn't make me feel good. That was probably one of my things that I learned is I always got to stay true to myself. And I think we talked about that in the beginning. It's like, okay, you do get kind of wrapped up in the chasing the followers and the counts. And especially when things are tied up to it. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? I don't care. I'm just going to grow at my own pace. And that's it,
I think that all women creators in all of these male dominated spaces have to go through that and decide, like, do I want to do that to get the huge following or not?
Definitely an easier way to do it for sure.
Yeah, definitely no hate. I support all the women that are doing whatever, but yeah, it's definitely not my vibe either. And I wish I would have did YouTube earlier, because if I would have been YouTubing back when I was doing like all my trips and stuff, I would have been so big on YouTube. Like, it makes me like cringe just thinking about what I could have been on YouTube and like.
Same. If we're talking social media, now I'm coming back to YouTube. I just hit 100,000. I just got my plaque.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, but it's all short form. Long form is so hard. I wish I kind of took the time to learn more long form strategy, because man, the people that do it so good. And it's so hard for me.
Are you just posting shorts mostly? You post long videos, right?
I did one series where I didn't build, but I helped my mechanic, and he like showed me and taught me things, and I was in the shop, but he like rebuilt my Suzuki, and I kind of posted that. They didn't do that good though.
Do you cross post? Like, will you make one piece of content and cross post it across like YouTube Shorts and TikTok and Instagram, or is it a different
That
edit?
is how I do everything, sir. I cross post everything. It's a very big strategy for me. For short form, I am a short form queen. I love the short form content. So 60 seconds or less, I got it. And then I chop it up, and I'll keep the original file on my PC, and then I just post it everywhere. I grew all of my YouTube stuff on just reposting viral content from TikTok and Instagram. So I kind of cheated in a way.
Yeah, but they're kind of cheating, right? Like, that's why they introduced that feature in the first place, is they're kind of trying to compete.
Yeah. So I was like, all right, I just went to my TikTok sorted by popular, and I just started posting all my popular stuff that went viral, and I did it on YouTube, and I started that in May of 2023. And yeah, so I hit 100K in January.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm going to keep going. And then in 2024, I'm trying to do long form content, but I've been sitting on we went on this all girls ride, this video, and it's been taking me so long to edit. It's so hard. I don't know how people
don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Just do it, and don't even care about if it kind of sucks. That's what I'm learning. On YouTube, it seems like they kind of like it when it sucks a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then maybe they'll like me.
That's my goal. 2024 is just a whole bunch of GoProing like this, like down the highway.
So, Becky, I got a question for you. Are we going to get you out to King of the Motos or what?
Dude, I don't really dirt bike that much. Like, I don't really do that. I want to go to it. Off-road stuff is like a whole nother thing. Like, we need another girl right here who does that shit.
You're right. And there are like no women in that space. We need to fix that.
Is there actually none?
I don't think there were any women in King of the Motos this year. I'm sure the listeners will tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure. That race is crazy.
We should both just do it.
We should just do it.
And no training.
I'm done. Yeah.
You should both just do it, and we'll do a whole campaign around it, because that would be crazy. Because that whole thing, that's the most hardcore thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It's nuts.
Can't be that hard. I'm just kidding.
Oh my God. It's like going up boulders and stuff.
I'm joking. It's hard.
I went to their Can Media King of the Hammers Media Day, and I watched a dude ride down the course. I think he was just doing it for fun, and I was just I couldn't believe it. What those guys do is just, honestly, doesn't even look that fun. But
even in side-by-sides, it's crazy. Like, Dave took me out in a side-by-side, and I've spent my entire life in motorsports, and that scared the crap out of me. I was not comfortable. I was like, this is insane. This is a lot.
And me being in Florida, any type of elevation is scary, so I'd probably freak out.
Yeah. I bet.
That makes sense. So where can our listeners find you guys online? Where can they find more about you? Where can they follow you?
I'm Just Rides on all the things, but a 125 is the smallest. So Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter. I'm on all of it.
Yeah, it's Axel. that whole thing on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. And then my brand is Axel Co. And my website is it's axel.com. And that's where you can kind of link to all of my other stuff too. Instagram is my main one though.
Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate you both coming on and thank you for chatting. It was fun and hopefully everybody got to learn a few things and hopefully they follow you both because you guys do a great job.
Yeah, you too, Dan. I'm sorry we never talked about you at all, really.
That's okay. I'm just here to ask the questions. I appreciate you both very much. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, nice to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you.